want to welcome everybody to CCBC's Center for Business Innovation Think and Grow Seminar Series. This is our latest in the series that we're doing, and each month we are bringing together some experts to talk to you about some of the things that they're doing as a startup to grow their business, some insights to help you if you're looking to start a business or even grow your business, how to do that. So tonight, we have three special guests with us. So we have Takla Ross, Sam Coyote, and Kristi Sachs. All right. Each one are past winners of our annual business plan competition with CCBC. They have all received seed money to help them start, grow their business. Each one has been pretty successful, and that's why we're bringing them here with you tonight to share some of the things that they're doing as part of our series here to talk about, and honestly, about what the pandemic has meant to them. It has not been easy. It has been a challenge for businesses all over the country and for our winners as well. So, and I also want to welcome Angela Kivas, our project director with the Radcliffe Foundation. She's the one who's been emailing you, reminding you, keeping you on track. So we appreciate all the work that Angela has been doing to bring everybody here tonight. We have a pretty good turnout. We have over 100 people registered for tonight's seminar, and we're excited to bring this with you this evening. So without further ado, we're going to start right into this with Sam Coyote. I'm going to ask each of our panelists to introduce themselves very quickly, their name, their business, just a brief description about their business. We'll start with Sam, and then we'll go with Kristi, and then Takla. But just real quick, introduce yourselves, please. Sam?
All right. Good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining us this great evening. My name is Sam Coyote. I am the CEO of CM Training, LLC. We specialize in case management training and consulting, so that's what we do. And I'm based here in Maryland, Baltimore.
All right. Kristi?
Hi, my name is Kristi Sachs. My company is Workflow Mindfulness, and I work with companies and individuals to help them grow their business and help them understand how to deal with stress, anxiety in their workplace and their personal lives.
Thank you, Kristi. And Takla.
Hey everyone, my name is Takla Ross. I'm the owner of Accessmentized Makeup Artistry. We are the home of Pretty Mobile Baltimore, DMV's first mobile makeup studio, and we are the creators of Kiki Thunder Cosmetics, a small batch manufacturing company here in Baltimore.
Thank you, Takla. All right, so to get us started, I'm going to ask Sam to begin and talk, Sam, about what you had planned before the pandemic for 2020, and what kind of impact the pandemic had on you in those early months, March, February, April, May?
Yes, thank you, Dennis. In 2020, this year, my plan was to do a lot of traveling, which I did previously, and I had several cities on my list. I had a company pay for almost 12 of the employees to get training in San Francisco. They're already paid in full, and the training was supposed to take place in June. And when when the pandemic happened, I had to readjust. I had to put another plan in place, and they didn't even ask for their money back. They were just asking, how do we get the training? Because they were very interested in my training. So I had to make some adjustments, and most of the other locations I was supposed to travel to this year, I had to cancel most of them and reschedule some of them.
All right. Kristi, what about you? What do you have planned for this year, and what were some of the big changes you had to make as the pandemic hit?
So I actually had planned, I was doing more individual and yoga studios and gyms. So I was focusing on that. And I actually, on Friday the 13th, right before everything shut down, we had our big launch for a program that I was doing. And I had set up to kind of travel all over the Baltimore metro area to introduce mindfulness and this yoga program that we had put together. And it took us about 3 to 4 months to get everything together. So we launched it. We had a great turnout, and I also had other locations already booked, and we were starting to fill up in those areas. And then they shut everything down. So the shift that I made in the beginning was I had to refocus who my clientele was, because most of people were doing a lot of free stuff on Facebook, on Instagram. And I love the fact that they were getting mindfulness out there, but I didn't like the fact that nobody was paying for anything. So I had to take a step back and really reanalyze my whole business. And the biggest shift that I did was I changed the name of the company and I refocused on businesses and corporations.
So what, any particular organizations, businesses that you're focused on, like size in different particular industries?
So right now, one of the things we're focusing on is the HR departments. And because I'm finding that they're the ones that are getting the big push and everything's falling back on them. So they are in charge of making sure that everything is working technology wise, making sure that everybody's okay and is understanding what the laws are, because they're constantly changing. So what I did is I refocused everything to go into start networking with these HR departments. I'm working on a book that focuses on the HR departments. And so the biggest shift was to do that. And the companies I'm looking at right now, I've been working with a couple nonprofits. So they have about maybe 50 employees. But I also have been connecting with companies that have over 1,000 employees. So it's everything's kind of flowing in a way that it's the bigger companies that are coming to me and saying, hey, we don't know what we're supposed to be doing, but our employees are stressed and I'm stressed and our HR department is overwhelmed and they can't handle this anymore. So we need to take that off their plate and we want to push that into your court.
Thank you. All right. Takla, talk to us about how you were starting out the year and then what kind of changes you had to make.
So for us, we began to feel the effects of COVID in the pandemic in 2019. So around November, December, because it hit the Asian market before us. And as a product-based, as I was pivoting into product-based, a lot of our raw materials, our packaging comes from China, Malaysia, that sort of thing. And so they were feeling the ramifications and they were talking about COVID prior to it ever getting to the US. And so we were dealing with supply chain issues early on in 2019. We had a lot of supply chain challenges back in like December. So in January, we were really planning on, making sure that we locked in our supply chain, making sure we diversified our supply chain a lot more so that we could have more vendors. We could start doing a lot more stuff in-house. So that way we had more control over our products, our packaging and all of that stuff. And of course, our service-based side, we were ready. We were gearing up for prom and wedding season, graduation season, event season. We had just launched our products in 2 store locations. So we were like gung-ho about it. And I remember on March 15th, that March 14th, we got the call that schools would be closed for 2 weeks. So it was like schools are going to be closed for 2 weeks as we battle COVID. We launched our products on March 15th and we lost 75% of our business on March 18th. And so all of our service line, everybody started canceling. So as schools were closing, we got cancellations straight through to 2021. So we felt it as a service provider very quickly. Like it was just kind of like, oh my God, what are we going to do? And so what I decided to do was really kind of stand up my product line. So really make sure I've always pitched that, women are going to buy lipstick. Like it doesn't matter, You know, I've always said that makeup and beauty products are non-outsourceable and they are recession proof. And I'm trying to tell you, it works. I didn't lie about it. So standing up our product side was how we were able to pivot, because women were still buying their products. They were still buying makeup, they were still buying lips, they were still buying lashes, and they were paying to take classes. So this was a time where everybody was home. So we started teaching online makeup classes. You know, I started really doing putting a lot more energy and effort into products. So that's where we were.
Got it. So Takla, let me stay with you here. So talk to us a little bit more about the changes that you made, and are there any opportunities that have come out of this? You talked about the challenges, but are there any opportunities that come out of this that you think you may stick with, that you perhaps weren't planning to do before?
So when we first started our product line was basically an add-on products for our services. So we first started just to have products that we can sell to our customers. We didn't want our customers leaving without getting, you know, you get the extra $5, $10, you know, the add-on sales. It really increased. It was going to increase our profit margins. So that's why we started our product-based business. When the pandemic hit, we realized that we needed to diversify as much as possible. And I think that's something that, you know, as we have people on here who are getting into business and who are writing business plans and that sort of thing, diversification is key. So how are you going to make money, especially in a time where, you know, we can't lay hands on people the way we want to. You know what I mean? We can't touch you. We can't go into your homes. People can't come to you. Everybody's wearing masks. So, you know, how are you going to be able to reach your clientele? There are a number of opportunities out there. And so for business owners who are looking for funding, there is tons of funding out there right now. However, you have to position yourself to be able to get it. So you can't just think that people are going to just start giving you money because there's money out there. How are you preparing your business to receive money? How are you showing them that I can still do business in a pandemic? So there are funding opportunities out there. People are still purchasing. Not everybody lost their job. Some people got new jobs. Some people got raises. So, you know, and so my thing is, how are you speaking to that client? How are you speaking to that potential customer? And you have to be ready to realize that your customer pre-pandemic may not be your customer post-pandemic. So the person that you were servicing prior to COVID may not be the person that you're going to be providing services to now or after the pandemic. And you have to be ready for that shift. And that's an opportunity as well. And then too, I know all of us have those little books that we write down all the notes and stuff, all the ideas that we have, you know, and we never had time to go back to that book. This is the time to go back to all of those ideas that you had, everything that you jotted down, everything that you thought about before, everything that you didn't have time to do. Really think about that, and think about the fact that now everybody's online. And so it's nothing for people to pay for classes or purchase a webinar or you to do a Zoom and charge. And this is going to be our new normal for a while. So you really have to think about, this is your opportunity to make money while you sleep. Do the recording, you know, record it and charge people for it. So I think there are tons of opportunities. We just have to be very innovative, and we have to be unafraid to just take a step. I mean, at a certain point, what do you have to lose?
Yeah, you bring up some great points, and it's a little known fact that most businesses are started during recessions because you don't have as much to lose. You may have lost some income, may have lost your job. Then the barrier or the hurdle to overcome is not as great. It's not as much risk involved. So bring up some great points. Thank you, Takla. Kristi, what about any opportunities, anything that you're doing now that you think that, hey, I wasn't thinking about doing this before, but now this may create an opportunity that I can jump on going forward?
Like she was saying one of the things that I'm doing now is how to make money while you sleep. So people are looking for recordings. So if I do a class, and before people were coming to the class, it was in person, and now it's, I can do the class, I can tape the class, and I can put it up on the website. And if somebody is stressed out in the middle of the night and they're searching for something online, they can now go on, find me, and they can learn at the pace that they want to learn in. One of the things that I want to point out is fear. When I started the business plan competition, and I know not everybody's doing that, but when I got involved in that, I'm not a writer, so I'm not very good at that. I, felt the fear, and it was something that I had to overcome. And I think what I'm seeing right now, because I'm going into these companies, a lot of people are leaving their companies right now and starting to start their own businesses because their companies have let them down. So when the pandemic happened, they didn't know what was going on, like most people didn't. And they went to their companies to say, what are we doing? And the companies didn't know what they were doing. They didn't give any support. They didn't say, hey, I know you're home with your kids now. You don't have to be in the front of the computer for 8 hours a day. We're going to give you some leniency in this. And they didn't do that. So a lot of these people took a step back and said, do I really want to work for a company that is not supporting me through something like a pandemic? And a lot of people quit their jobs, or if they were in that furlough or they were let go, that's when a lot of people did take that step back and say, what can I do now to make money? And that's when you're starting to see all these different companies popping up. You've got people doing yoga on like Facebook, what I do, mindfulness. And so a lot of people are taking these businesses that they might have had in their back pocket, and now they have the opportunity to do it, because I think the shift in a lot of people's mind were, I've been putting 100 million hours into this position and this job, and I've been neglecting my family, and I'm stuck in this house with my family now, and it's not great. So what can I do now to rebuild my foundation when it comes to my business and my family? And I'm starting to see that people are taking that fear that they've had to start that company, and they're like, something, at this point, like you said, I've got nothing to lose. So I'm in this position where I have money coming in some way, and now I can really maybe go back to school and learn the things that I need to learn to take my business either to the next level or start that company that I've always wanted to start. And I'm seeing that the fear now is there, but the fear is something that's helping people push themselves into a direction that's changing their mindsets and starting to build a life that they probably never would have done if they stayed in that groundhog mentality that we were in before pandemic, which you got up, you got your kids to school, you went to work, you dealt with whatever it was, you came home and you watched TV and went to sleep. And that's what you did for the last 10 years. And I think the gratitude that I have with the pandemic is that it woke a lot of people up to take that step back and say, I put so much effort into everybody else and everybody else's business. I'm going to take that step back now and say, I want to take control. I want to take control of my family. I want to take control of my life. And I want to start building something that I can produce income in this time of need.
Thank you, Kristi. Sam, opportunities that may have unfolded for you where you're looking at it and saying, hey, this could be part of my business going forward.
The opportunities that definitely assisted my business was virtual training. As you know, that most of my trainings are done in person, and I had to make an adjustment to how I provide the trainings. And from last year, I did a lot of traveling, but this year, my expenses were much lower than previously. Last year I'm spending money on plane tickets, on hotels, on Uber, food, name it. So by the time I calculate how much I've earned, it's not that much. But this year I was making tons of money, so I was having trainings each month, and all I needed was Zoom. That's all I needed. And what I had was, I had a Zoom account and it was free. And I said to myself, I said, you know what, I'm gonna increase the plan and pay the $20 every month so I can have about 100 participants. So, and before you know it, each month I'm doing trainings. People from all over the country were signing in, and it was working out very well for me. So every money I made, every fund I made, I kept, and I didn't have to really put out that much expenses like I did last year.
Sam, I want to stay with you.
Yes.
And each of you have talked about how you have identified a want, a need in your market.
Mm-hmm.
But how has perhaps your target market changed? The people that you are trying to reach now, has that changed much since prior to February of this year?
Yes, I would say yes. I've seen a reduction in my field, especially like in my field, you have to really go out there in the community, and a lot of organizations have laid off a lot of staff. So, and when they lay a lot of staff off, they don't really need the trainings. So I'm just getting individuals who are signing up for my trainings, but I'm not really getting a lot of corporations and a lot of companies or organizations to sign up. I continue to market, I continue to reach out, but I've seen a reduction of organizations reaching out to me. And I usually get some of these numbers by the feedback I get from some of the students in my class, and most of them just signed up independently, not with what I used to have last year, where a lot of organizations will send 5 to 10 of their staffs to my training, but it's not like that anymore because a lot of nonprofits, a lot of private agencies have shut the doors, and some have laid off most of their employees. So I saw a significant drop in organizations reaching out to me.
Well, and I know some of your trainings have changed too, because you had always worked virtually. And then now we're stuck in this virtual environment. Mm-hmm. So you started actually training case managers how to do their jobs virtually.
Yes, yes. And with that, I was able to create additional courses, how to actually work virtual in a virtual world, how to do your job in a virtual world. So yes, I had to make some adjustments. I also was very creative in delivering my trainings. With Zoom, one of the greatest things that I discovered was when I do my trainings in person, I usually pair people up in groups. But one thing I discovered on Zoom was you can create rooms for people to actually work together. So that was one of the greatest things. It was cheaper. I don't have to pay for printing out paper or certificates for my trainings. All I did was send a link on the chat, and people will fill it out. So everything went well for me during this pandemic.
Yeah. There's one thing that I've learned in my career is that there's always an opportunity in a crisis. Mm-hmm. You know, when there's a crisis, somebody is going to be able to take that and create some type of opportunity to be able to offer something, just like you did, Sam, where you're now offering courses for how to do their jobs virtually, because now all of a sudden these case managers who are, had pen and paper, and how do you go into people's homes, in a pandemic, how does that work? And then how to do your job virtually created a whole new opportunity for you. There's an expression that I've become very fond of lately, which is, don't let a good crisis go to waste. Yes. Because there is opportunities in these types of situations.
I always say, I'm sorry to cut you off. I always say, when there are problems, you have a solution, then you have an idea, then you have a business. End of story.
Yeah. So, Takia, I see you nodding your head there. Talk a little bit about where you've seen some opportunities in a crisis.
So one, I had to really diversify my target market. So, really thinking about and taking a look at, like you said, what are people in need of now? And then how can I fill that need? Where are they having hardships? So what I started to realize was that most women were not prepared to be on Zoom. That's just not how we weren't prepared for Zoom. And so what I started to do was do classes on how to put your makeup on for Zoom, how to be prepared for this new virtual environment. And I didn't, women were flocking to it because now they're in front of a screen, all day long. And how do I present my best self in that? I also started to do, like, how do you set up your lighting? You know, like things that I take for granted. So all the things that you take for granted that you just know, you know, people pay for that. They're paying for your intellectual property. So I would do classes on how to set your lighting up so that you can have good lighting. You know, the different mounts that you need for your phone. You know what I mean? The different technologies that you could use. You know, all kinds of things to make sure that I was able to continue to service my clients. And now that we've opened back up a little bit, you know, and I am able to serve clients, you know, even though it's at a limited capacity, I'm seeing the difference in the type of client that I'm servicing. This was the greatest time. If you were thinking about raising your rates, this was the time to raise your rates. This was the time to think about those price increases. You know what I mean? Because now you have to think about your expenses increase. You know, you have to have PPE. You know, you have to make sure that you're sanitized and your clients are safe and all of that stuff. So don't eat that cost. You know, now is the time to really think about, take a hard look at those numbers. And I had to increase my rates. You know, I have to be picky. You can be picky about the type of clients you serve. Like, who do you really want to serve? And really start talking to that market of people. What do they need? Start talking to them. And then start building a community. There's opportunity in a tribe. So I say all the time, like, get on and start building your tribe, your group of people, because you can't be in all the places all the time. So if you build a group of people, they are in different places and they're saying your name. Your reputation should precede you. So they should be talking about you before you ever even know the opportunity exists. A lot of times people are calling me about funding opportunities. So funders are calling me and saying, hey, did you see this? You know, hey, have you applied? Hey, have you, you know, and that's a blessing. And it's because you have set a precedent, you know what I mean, for, you know, how you do work. And you have shown that I am so innovative that even in a pandemic, I'm still here. So as big business was shutting down left and right, and you know what I mean, we talking about big ones, you know, hotels and, you know, restaurant, all of them, you still here. And so you need to like pat yourself on the back, and you need to remind funders of that too. Like, I was able to weather the storm. I saw a question about me getting my products and how that was affected by the pandemic. I know USPS was an issue, and it has been an issue for a lot of people who ship. So what I started doing, again, I brought all of it in-house. So now, you know, I have the software to be able to create, you know, my own labels, you know, get my own tracking numbers and that sort of thing. So that way I have more control over, you know, where my products are going, when they're shipped, how they're shipped. And I physically take my products to the post office and have them scan them, you know, one at a time. So that way I know that you scanned it in the system and you got it. And that's another thing. If you're shipping stuff, you may even want to think about the fact that you might need to get insurance. So a lot of times we don't get insurance on our packages because it costs more. Well, that's an expense that you may have to think about if you start losing packages. You can't afford to keep sending out extra, you know, it got lost in the mail, and who's responsible for that? So that's what I've done.
Thank you, Takla. All right, Kristi, talk to us a little bit about how your market segmentation may have changed since the pandemic, and who you're focused on.
So before the pandemic, like I said, it was individuals and in-person classes, and it was more like it was intimate, and my prices were different. But when the pandemic happened, there was a lot of people that were doing it for free, but what I did is I actually raised my prices, and people were actually coming to pay for those, because you're getting information online. There's a ton of different people coming into the field of mindfulness. But I think people saw that I'd been in it for a while. I didn't just start it when the pandemic happened. So the shift really happened was I was focusing, and my price point was way lower. But when the pandemic happened, I was able to raise the price, because I had such an influx of people saying, you know, I want to do this. Are you able to do? Are you able to do a one-on-one with me? Would you be able to do classes? So I was able to really kind of choose what kind of clientele I wanted to have, and they were able to match the price point that I wanted to be at. And then the other idea was, where's the money at? There are a lot of people out there that want to do mindfulness, and they may not have the money to be able to put in to do it. So I had to take a step back, and I think the first couple months, a lot of people were giving a lot of stuff away for free, and I kind of just stopped. I took that step back, and I was like, all right, I need to reevaluate this. Where's the money at? And I was fortunate enough before the pandemic to get into a Fortune 500 company and work with them, and I knew that they had money. And now that I'm going after the businesses, I know how to go in, who I need to talk to, what information I need to send to them, how to cultivate that relationship. And I know that they have the money, and I know that they need me. And what I do now is I'm able to go in and say, okay, I know that you're bringing people back onto your campus. So here's a product that I can do for you, a lunch and learn. But I was able to really, in that time of pause and really evaluating what the climate was, what social media and the different things that people were doing, how was I going to stand out and be different? And the way that I did that was going towards the corporations, because most people that are in the business that I'm in, they weren't doing that. They were more doing the classes online. So I knew if I wanted to be able to get in front of as many people as possible, which I like to do, is I went in and I started looking at the corporations, because like I said before, they do have the money. It's just that I had to convince them that they needed me now more than ever. And that's becoming easier and easier because, like I said, the HR department used to be that person that kept everybody happy. And they're just so overwhelmed. They're willing to say, whatever you can do to help me calm down and help my company get to a place of just to feel safe to come back to work, or to learn different techniques, working from home and distraction, and how to have that distraction and get back into work. And then also how to deal with your children, because you're working and then you have your kids and you're a teacher. So all of these different things were there. So there were so many different things that I could get into. So I had to take that step back, refocus, and say, where was the money at? And the money is in the corporation. So that kind of helped me shift in that direction.
Each of you are entrepreneurs. You have a passion for what you do. Is coming across loud and clear, and you fight. You have these obstacles that are getting in the way, and you're able to push your way through it. But I know there were some scary moments for each of you during this time. And I'd just like you to just talk briefly about what was the scariest moment for you and what got you through that. Kristi, let me start with you. The scariest moment that you can recall and what got you through it.
Well, the scariest moment was my focus was on the individuals and those intimate relationships that I was building. And when the pandemic happened, I saw that influx on social media of people doing mindfulness and meditations, and it scared me. And in that moment, I was like, what am I going to do? Everything's free now. Nobody's going to want me because everybody's doing this for free. And this is my livelihood. This is my business. And it freaked me out. And me doing mindfulness, I was able to calm myself down, get myself to this present moment. And I think the biggest thing that helped me was patience, was to just kind of sit back and watch what people were doing, and then to kind of be in that mindful moment to watch the opportunities come in front of me and see, okay, this is what people are doing. This is the price point they're at. And what is my competition on social media? Because that's where I was mostly marketing, was, Facebook and Instagram when the pandemic happened. Before, I was out networking, I was meeting people, I was building those relationships. So I was like, what am I going to do? I don't know how to do that virtually. And that made me have to kind of go out of my comfort zone and have that fear and use that fear as a power and say, okay, I'm kind of freaking out. I'm afraid of what's going to happen next. I'm afraid of, the pandemic, because everybody kind of didn't know what was going on with that. And I had to really sit and give myself that space to have that patience to just see what the new format was, what the layout was, and then to be able to take that step back and then truly, totally revamp my business. Like I said, I changed the name. I changed the way that I changed my website. So everything that I already had put money in to move forward in, I lost all that. And then I had to come back and say, I have to look different now. I have to look this professional. I have to be different now. And it was a scary shift that I had to make. But knowing mindfulness, I knew that this was the road that I needed to go on. And I'm so happy where I'm at right now, because it, like everyone was saying, it's not, I'm not out driving everywhere. I'm not having to call all these different places and do splits and give money to different people to make things happen. And I was fortunate enough to find this wonderful person who was that was able to help me build my website and take it from this, okay website to this really nice professional website. And it changed my life. And now where I'm at in this path that I'm on is I feel more confident, and I know that what I'm doing is helping people, because right now a lot of people are freaked out, and there was an influx. Who am I going to focus on? I could focus on mothers, I could focus on teachers, I could focus on kids. I mean, there were so many different ways I could pull myself in. And in the beginning, I kind of was doing that. But when I took that step back, and Dennis actually helped me kind of get my head where I needed to be and say, okay, I really need to put my foot down and pick which way I was going to go. And that fear of saying I'm putting all my ducks in this basket, or eggs in this basket, and going for it, that's what I did. And that's where I'm at right now. And I'm so grateful for what has happened, because it has changed the way that I'm doing my business, and it has increased my productivity and the income that I'm bringing in.
Yeah, and that's one of the biggest challenges, is picking a target market, and you're, in a sense, saying no to some of the others, and not going after what you think may be other opportunities, to go after what you feel is the best opportunity. And only one way to find out, and that's to try it. Thank you. Sam, scariest moment for you? What was that moment? And how did you overcome that?
That moment, that moment came on a day I was supposed to conduct a training with a large group. Actually, this was one of my largest groups. And I usually get to my location, which is my office where I'm at right now. I usually get here an hour early, but I couldn't connect to the internet. And I mean, I was trying every single thing, every single possibility. And it was almost 10 o'clock, and because my trainings usually start at 10, and I'm connecting, and I said, you know what? I can just connect to my hotspot, So I did that right away, and that moment. So I really didn't have that much scary moments during this pandemic. Everything was kind of smooth, but that one particular day, the internet I just wasn't connecting. So I was able to connect to my hotspot. Everything went well. Then during the break, I went downstairs to check the connections, and everything was back online again. So everything went smooth. And, so sometimes I like to get here on time just to test out my internet first. Then unfortunately that day,
It is crazy how so dependent we are now on internet and Wi-Fi.
Yes.
I had those same moments, and I had a presentation I was doing, and all of a sudden, no internet, and it's like, okay, this has got to change. So
and this was my largest group. So and this was a company organization sending about 20 of their employees, and I was like, I can't let this happen. I don't have any refunds, so so I had to act quick. I had to make some adjustments, and everything went well.
All right. Before we I ask you, Takla, just quickly, if anybody has any questions they would like to ask any of the panelists, throw that into the chat feature, and we'll be sure to try to address that with the panelists. But Takla, your scariest moment, what was that?
My scariest moment was when I ran out of money. You know, I'm going to be totally honest. You know, a lot of times, you know, being in business, you working with maybe 3-4 months worth of savings, you know, worth of cushion. Especially when you're not planning for something as big as a pandemic and for it to last as long as this pandemic has lasted. So, you know, we got to a point where we were down to our last $1,000, you know, and I'm trying to figure out how I'm supposed to pay the bills with this $1,000. Like not just my bills. I'm talking about the house bills and the business bills, and you know, and I think that was a moment that I had to, you know, that'll put you on pause fast. Like, wait a minute, you know, and so
And
I
that's
know
got to be a reality check for you to say, okay, am I going to continue doing what I'm doing, or
right.
do I got to get a real job?
Yes, I mean, and
Right.
that's the truth. Like that is the absolute truth. When you're really deciding, okay, maybe I need to be out here delivering Amazon packages. You know, like
Right.
it was really one of those times. And I really wanted to share that because a lot of times as entrepreneurs, like, you know, like you think that you're by yourself. Like you think that you're the only one that's down to your last $1,000, or you know what I mean, it might have got a turn off notice, or you know what I mean? Like, but you're not alone. And this is one of those times where that was a lot of us who were really trying to juggle, you know, how am I going to keep this business afloat? How am I going to keep my family afloat? Because most of this is our family's livelihood. You know, I'm a single mom of 3, so I can't fail. You see, you know what I mean? I can't, because there are 3 other people that's looking at me like, mommy, I'm hungry. So I really had to think about, you know, okay, how am I going to invest my last $1,000 so that I can make a profit? I had to think fast, you know, and you have to be really ready for like, listen, I'm gonna go hard, or I'm gonna go home. Either I'm gonna go all in, or I'm gonna go ahead to Amazon and they're gonna have to pay me every 2 weeks. You know, and so that was something that I really wanted to share, that, you know, you're not alone if you're looking like, I don't even know how I'm going to do this. And even as we enter into the winter and we think about the fact that shutdowns are coming, you know, we already see that Baltimore City is, you know, now they went back down to 25% capacity. You know, the governor is talking about, you know, making changes. How does that affect my business? And how am I going to keep my business and my family afloat? You know, if we have to shut down again, what does that look like? You know, what does that mean for us? So I know for me, like I had to really become, I had to diversify. I had to think of ways that we could make money, you know, and then how I could maximize my revenue as much as possible. So we started a subscription service. So now I have subscription where I can at least guarantee this pot of money every month, you know, and so you got to think about things that you can do in your business to kind of help you make it through those storms, because they come and you're not by yourself.
Yeah, so the subscription service is a lip gloss in a box that you're sending out each month, correct?
Yep. So our beauties, we call them lip lovers. So our lip lovers get, you know, 1 lip product every month. So we are excited because they loving it. They having a good old time. They out here stalking me for the boxes, you know. But what it does was, honestly, what it did was it guaranteed us a revenue. So you got to think about that. It's not just about the fun of it. It's about guarantee that you have this certain amount of revenue coming in every month. And then if you're looking for funding, your funder is looking at that as well. Like that is a guaranteed revenue stream that's going to be coming in. And so I was able to go to a funder and say, hey, you know, we have this much money coming in as a guarantee every month, and we get it the month before. So, you know, that's how we were able to get funding.
Thank you, Takla. Quick question for you, Takla, while we got you. You talked about diversifying. Do you have to stick to the same products you have, or can you get into other products or services?
I think you can. I think you can get into other products and services, but I think that they have to make sense together. I think that we have to be careful not to jump from one industry to another. Like, you know what I mean? For me to jump from being a makeup artist to now doing websites, you know what I mean? That might be a bit, much for my market. And so what I've done is wherever you see a hole in your market, you try to fill that hole. So for me in the products, there was a hole for African-American women. Women of color have been, really have a hard time with beauty products. And so finding products that work for us, that work for our skin, our complexions. And so what I did was I started filling all the holes in beauty. So I started with lips, then we went to powders, then we went to lashes, then we went to lip liners. So the more you can fill holes in your industry, you can diversify. And then what I did was, and Dennis and, the Center for Business Innovation helped with this, was I started thinking about the administrative side of what I do. So, I was fortunate enough to get funding to purchase a machine to make the labels for us. So I'm excited about making our own labels, but if you think about it, now I can make labels for other businesses like mine. And so you have to think about how you can utilize what you have. Like I'm still in the beauty market, but now I've just kind of switched over to the administrative side and the packaging and product manufacturing side. And I use that to, to kind of bring in additional revenue.
Yeah, thank you. Kristi, question for you. Do you find... I'm not sure what happened there. Sorry. Something happened, but so let me try asking this question, Kristi. So do you find your clients were more prone to jump on board to or listen to your pitch once they realized that they're struggling with these problems with employees? At what point do you feel that you are resonating with your target market?
Well, with mindfulness, and I think a lot of people are afraid of it when I get into businesses, because I think one of the things that I run into is that they still are going back into that I'm walking in and I'm like this hippy dippy or this yoga instructor. I've been in real estate most of my life, so I've been selling my entire adult life. So when I got into getting into these corporations, and I'm still dealing with this, and that's why I'm working on this book, and it's education. I'm constantly trying to educate people to take it from the idea of how's mindfulness going to help my company? It's this Buddhist thing, or it's a thing you learn in yoga. And that's one of the things that I'm dealing with right now is I have to educate the market and say, look, I know that right now that you're dealing with a lot of different things that you haven't had to deal with before, and I can take these things off your plate, but I have to educate them for them to see that this actually works, because I look at these companies, and when I sit down with the company and say, where are you putting your money? A lot of them are putting money into stuff that's not really helping their company in the wellness department. They might be doing like pizza parties, or they might have like a Dunkin' Donuts truck come. So they don't understand that they need to take it to the next level of really dealing with the individuals, their employees' mental well-being. And now when I get in there, they're starting to realize that I really need someone in here to teach my employees to breathe, because they're overwhelmed. And if their employees, like I said, are at home, the distraction is huge. I mean, before the pandemic, I would go in and talk about distraction, and it was a distraction of just the other employees and their cell phone. Now they're dealing with the distraction of their children, their dogs, their significant other, cleaning the house, getting out of bed, changing their routines. So it's a whole new a bunch of problems that they're not even thinking about. So when I go into these companies, it's all about education right now. and educating them in why they need me. And then working with the HR department, it's just showing them that I can show you how to calm down and get to this place where you can work and function and deal with the distractions. Then they're like, okay, now I want to bring you into my company because I talked to you on the phone for a half an hour yesterday. I did some breathing and I feel better about it. Now I want you to come in and maybe start doing a lunch and learn, or let's look at a program that we can implement that you're coming in once a month and you're doing a Zoom with certain departments. So it's the idea right now for my industry. It's out there. Mindfulness is out there. People are starting to understand it better. But right now, a lot of my stuff that I'm doing is education. And the blunt of my money actually is coming more from the CEOs that are like, okay, I want to learn more, or individual salespeople that are working for sales companies. So real estate agents and people that are selling products for their company. So they may not be getting a base, but they're doing more like a 1099 and they get paid per sale. So that's kind of the industry that I'm pulling, that I'm being pulled to, but I am prepping and preparing myself for getting into these larger companies, because a lot of these companies are going to have to do onboarding. So I'm starting to set up a program to teach them how to select the right person to come in and start working. I have a program that we're putting together that's set up for bringing people back into campus. You know, you've got somebody who believes in COVID versus somebody that doesn't believe in COVID, and you're sticking them in the same room. How are you dealing with that? And how are you making your employee feel comfortable? So, you know, that's the stuff that I'm dealing with right now.
Great. Thank you, Kristi. Yeah, and what I want everybody to understand is each person here, Sam, Takla, Kristi, each one is an expert in their particular field. And what they have done is pivoted, because what they were doing were in-person types of services. Sam was going out and doing his trainings with classes. Kristi was doing the same thing with groups of people. Takla is working with people in her salon. They can't do that anymore. So they've all had to pivot to virtual. And there's an expression that I always come back to, which is people do business with people they like. And we like people we trust. And the key for when you're doing business virtually is how to build that trust when you're not in person anymore. And usually the way you do that is by educating, teaching people how to do what you do. Sam is doing that virtually now. Kristi is doing that as well. And Takla has been talking about how she's been able to do that. So to wrap up here, what I'd like to do is just have each of you just your one piece of advice, a minute or less, one piece of advice for others who are looking to start a business or running a business, lesson learned that you think would benefit others. Sam, I'll start with you to finish this off here. What's the one piece of advice that you'd like to leave with?
One piece of advice that I'll give to everybody is to be creative, okay? There's going to be times that you're going to fail. There are going to be times are going to get difficult, times that you're going to feel alone, nobody's supporting you, but you just have to remain strong and always remain creative, always stay positive, never feel negative, continue to share your business. Sell yourself, okay? Sell your business. Go out there, do something, sell something. Don't feel nobody's supporting you. People are actually seeing you, what you're doing. Just continue to sell, continue to market your business daily, nonstop. While everybody's out there partying, you are sharing your business daily, okay? And just look for other opportunities. If you create a business today, look for government contracts. They're available, okay? Look, when you see a problem, find a solution, have an idea, and you can start making some money. So, thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Kristi, one piece of advice that you would have.
Find something to be grateful for. Gratitude, what I do on a daily basis, I teach people how to get out of their stress, anxiety, and depression. And breathing is the biggest one. Take time to take those deep breaths and get yourself centered. But the main thing is to find something to be grateful for. Even when everything is falling apart and the world's falling apart, just give yourself a moment, take those breaths and say, I am grateful for this pen. You know, when you shift your mind into this gratitude state, it shifts you out of this panic, fight or flight mode, and it makes you kind of get into this space where you feel like you can actually accomplish something. And fear is going to be that companion with you in everything when it comes to business, because you're always scared that you're going to make the wrong decision. Just understand, whatever decision you choose, that's the only decision that's left. Go with it, breathe, and find something to be grateful for. And if it's just because you made $1 that day, that's awesome. But gratitude will shift you out of that fear state. It will shift you out of that fight or flight, and it will help you overcome any obstacle that's in front of you. Because when you feel grateful, then you have that power that will come to you that will get you over that hump. So just find something to be grateful for and breathe.
That's an easy one for me. I'm grateful for the fact that you guys have been able to share your advice with us. Takla, what's one piece of advice you would want to leave with?
So I would say define success for yourself. So what your definition of success is not my definition, and it may not be Dennis's or Krista's or Sam's. It's nobody's definition but yours. And a lot of times we get caught up in what society says success looks like, and that may not be it for you. So in business and whatever you do, define what success looks like for you. If it's paying your bills every month, you've been successful. If it's, being able to take your kids to school every day, that's success. Whatever it is, and that will carry you through, because you're not dependent upon, or you're not relying on other people's definition of what success is.
Thank you, Takla. And again, if you have questions that you'd like to ask, throw it in the chat feature, and be sure to, and we can pass that along to the panelists and try to get back to you with any questions that you may have. I want to thank Takla, Kristi, Sam for taking the time here this evening to share some of their experiences. I hope you got a lot out of it. This is all part of our Think and Grow seminar series sponsored by the Center for Business Innovation to help startups, to help those already in business who are looking to grow, to share their experiences. And we are in the midst of our business plan competition right now. Many of the folks who have submitted their intent to participate are frantically getting their final plans together that are due Sunday by midnight. So we wish everybody luck. I know our panelists here wish everybody luck. They are smiling because they're past winners from our business plan competition. We've launched 30 new businesses already. You're seeing 3 of them here. And we're looking to launch 6 more this spring with the seed money that we're providing. We now provide, I always tell Takla to close her ears because she was one of our first year winners, that she won $1,000. And she did a lot with it. She bought a mobile bus and took her business on the road, but she made the most of it. But Takla mentioned too how there's funding out there. So with Takla's business plan that she submitted that first year, she went on to enter other business plan competitions and won a total of $65,000 in other business plans. And so you can do it. And I know Takla is also advising others on how to take their idea, turn it into something real, how to participate in some of these business plan competitions. The funding's out there. So if you want to contact Takla to learn more, feel free. I'm sure she'd be glad to help. But I want to thank everybody for participating in tonight's presentation. We have our next Think and Grow seminar series on December 1st with Keith and Rebecca Scott. They are fantastic. You've heard tonight about how everybody's been able to pivot their business to virtual and some of the challenges involved with that. Well, Keith and Rebecca Scott are experts in that. And they're going to talk about how to turn your business virtual and how to present yourself in a virtual format. It is different, as a lot of people are realizing. So join us December 1st. We're going to have more information on that. Angela, anything I'm leaving out?
No, I want to thank everyone for coming. This was great hearing you guys, and I hope everyone got some tidbits, and you can see what fighters they are. I think that's what the entrepreneurial spirit is and what we're trying to promote here at the Center for Business Innovation. It was in full frontal right now with everyone's story, and you see how they had to pivot and how they had to it's about survivor mode. So I appreciate you guys coming and speaking to everyone. We will get their information out in an email. I'll give you all their contact information. You can hook up with them on LinkedIn and connect and network like you all should be doing. But no, just a quick date. Another quick date to save the date, the June 11th, where we're having our business conference for entrepreneurs and innovators. So keep that on the books as well. But we'll be getting out an email soon. And no, thank you all for coming.
Thank you, Angela. And I love Jen's final thought there, pivot and prosper. That should have been the name of the seminar tonight. So I love that tagline, Jen. So appreciate you sharing that. Thank you again, everybody joining us, and look for more for our December 1st next Think and Grow seminar series with Keith and Rebecca Klein-Scott. We look forward to seeing you then. And again, thank you to all of our panelists. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.